Our
dialogue.
leaders, whenever they meet, the geopolitical
Situation
is discussed, and that's how it should be. And
Right.
it's a candid discussion.
Yes.
Both sides, explain they discuss and understand. I mean, that's what we have to do.
Right.
And we have to have more discussions. like
Absolutely.
that. Because basically, at the end of the day, I always say India's security is our security because our location is very clear. We spoke of the civilization and
Yes. But also geographical links.
geographically, we can't be sort of
Separated.
put off somewhere else.
No.
And what we are talking is of integration.
Sure.
Now, if we are talking of integration, if we are talking of connectivity, we cannot be in any way be a security threat.
Sure.
Yeah. So on the matter of the idea on security, we have to have that dialogue, and that's what is happening. I think at all levels. It's not only at leaders level.
Yes, certainly. Hello and welcome to StratNewsGlobal and our daily program, The Gist. I'm Nitin Gokhale. On this edition of The Gist, I am joined by Milinda Moragoda, the High Commissioner of Sri Lanka to India, and someone who is fresh out of the President's visit, the Sri Lankan President's visit to New Delhi, which has several important outcomes, and who was part of the process to set up that visit and, of course, contribute largely to the upsurge in India-Sri Lanka relations over the past couple of years and what they're doing together. So welcome to this program and welcome to our studio.
Thank you, Nitin. Thank you very much.
So you're fresh out of this last week's visit, which happened where President Ranil Wickremesinghe made a quick trip to New Delhi. How would you describe that trip?
Well, I think this is part of a process where, Mr. Wickremesinghe visited largely, this was his first visit, of course, since he assumed duties as president. And India played a major role in the stabilization process. As you know, India provided assistance in various forms of nearly $4 billion to Sri Lanka last year, which really was the key piece, I think, in the stabilization. So Mr. Wickremesinghe initially obviously wanted to thank Prime Minister Modi for this support. Without this, he would not have been able to stabilize the economy. And then to lay the foundation for the next phase, which is the phase of the economic recovery.
Right.
And there, Mr. Wickremesinghe has a very clear vision. He has had it, I think, for the past 25 years, that integration with India economically is the way for Sri Lanka to develop.
Sure.
So he discussed that in detail with Mr. Modi. And they have now put out a joint vision statement between India and Sri Lanka, which puts us the contours of a possible roadmap, a vision as to how this economic recovery could take place through integration, economic integration between the two countries.
In fact, the document is entitled connectivity. I mean, the key word there is connectivity.
That's right.
It's about electricity connectivity, about physical connectivity, air connectivity, people-to-people connectivity. So let's break it down into, what are the tangible outcomes that we are looking at. And I know you've been one of the strong advocates even before you came here through your think tank, the Pathfinders, about economic integration. So if we look at, let's say, the energy security or energy partnership between India and Sri Lanka, where is that going? What are the aspects that India and Sri Lanka are going to focus on?
I think there are two areas. One is electricity, the other is petroleum.
Right.
To start with electricity, the area of electricity, renewable energy. We have signed a MOU between India and Sri Lanka where we will cooperate on renewable energy. And also we will now have a cable link between India and Sri Lanka for electricity, like what you similarly have with Nepal.
That's
Nation also.
Bangladesh, and Bangladesh.
In the Sri Lanka's case, obviously it will be under sea cable, or maybe on top there is a discussion on that with the technical people. But it's a short distance.
Sure.
There we have off the northwestern coast of Sri Lanka. It is believed that we have around 30,000 megawatt capacity for wind energy.
Wow.
So both
This is Manar.
off Manar,
Of
Punari.
Manar. Yeah.
So we both onshore and offshore. And even on the other side, on the Indian side, there's supposed to be another 30,000.
Right.
So India is very much aware of it. India has also, I think, done the necessary surveys.
Right.
So our whole electricity grid at the moment, capacity is 4,300.
Right.
So we will not need this 30,000 in short time. So the idea would be to develop that the 30,000 megawatts
Sure.
through investment,
Right.
and then provide, obviously take what we need and also to maybe export to India.
Yeah.
The other connected component is hydrogen energy. Sri
Sure.
Lanka is thought to green hydrogen. As they call
Right.
it. Sri Lanka is, it is believed that Sri Lanka has tremendous potential both for energy production, but also as a distribution center.
Sure. Storage and distribution. Yeah.
Distribution center. So that would be one area on electricity. And if that, so that's part of the integration.
That's right.
Petroleum, what we are envisaging is Trincomalee to be an energy hub.
Right.
So we already have a tank farm there, which
Correct.
Indian Oil and Sri Lanka Petroleum are jointly managing.
Sure.
If you look at India's needs, I think by the year 2030, you will need something like 50% more petroleum than you need now.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I'm told you need about 1/3 more refining capacity than you have now.
Right.
Now, if there can be a connection where Trincomalee becomes part of your structure,
Sure.
it's become part of it because that's an energy security issue for you. But if you feel comfortable,
Yes.
then Trincomalee can become an energy hub. So
It can become a strategic reserve.
very clear strategic reserve and also
For refining capacity.
capacity. So the first step was the tank farm.
Right.
Now the idea would be develop the tank farm and also to look at the multi-product pipeline between India and Sri Lanka, which the Prime Minister himself also
Spoke
announced
about,
in his own statement.
Right.
So that work will start now.
Sure.
To see how that can be done. So that could be a win-win for us because it helps our energy security and also it helps you also.
Exactly.
So these are the two pieces
Of the energy.
side.
Right.
I mean, then we can go through the others if you wish.
Sure. No, certainly. So tell us about others also.
Well, when you look at connectivity, as you rightly say, the physical side, which we look at, and then we look at trade and the other parts.
Exactly.
So on the physical side, this is one area. The other is, of course, ports.
Ports.
If you look at Colombo Port, I have said this in other forums also. Colombo Port, 80% of the business of Colombo Port is transshipment.
Sure.
Of that, over 70% goes to India.
India.
So Sri Lanka is very much integrated into your port.
Already in the
So,
port
with
business.
your growth, we can start expanding and we have space.
Right.
So Colombo Port, there's one port, Trincomalee is another port, so that is on that side. Then you get ferry connectivity, which was again announced by the Prime Minister, between Nagapatnam and Kankasanthuru, as well as Talemana and Rameshwaram. Talemana and Rameshwaram has been the traditional thing.
And with the closest
Link, and we have a railway line going right up.
Right.
So therefore, but it's going to take longer because both sides have to be developed.
Right.
In the sense, the pier on the Talemana side is old. It goes back to the British period because that was the place where even during British time connection took place.
Right.
And it is, I'm told, may have to be rebuilt.
Right.
Then on the Rameshwaram side also infrastructure has to be set up. Nagapatnam to Kankasanthuru, I think what they think is
faster.
Nagapatnam could be developed in about by September, they think.
Right.
And then, of course, the ferry services have to be established.
Sure.
It's not going to be, I think, as active probably as the Rameshwaram Talemana would be, but it would be a start.
Sure.
Air connectivity, we already have air connectivity between Colombo and most cities, and tourism is going to be our main driver for the recovery.
Exactly.
And already about 25% of the tourists coming into Sri Lanka are from India.
Yes.
But now we are talking of connectivity to the other airports. So Jaffna, Colombo,
Jaffna, Chennai.
Chennai has already, Alliance Air is running.
Started,
and they have expanded also their schedule now. Now they are looking at possibly other points in the east, maybe Batikal possibly, and even Trincomalee at some stage.
Yes.
So that is the air aspect of
Exactly.
Then we come to the trade relations, of course, where we have already a free trade agreement between India and Sri Lanka.
Right.
And now we are discussing the possibility of taking it to the next level.
Sure.
And again, Prime Minister in his statement announced his willingness to take it forward, and the negotiations should start. So there comes the integration on the trade side. Then, of course, using of rupee.
Yes.
The rupee as converted
Indian rupee to
rupee, and one of the agreements that were exchanged yesterday was basically to have this universal payment interface,
right?
UPI, to be so that people can use RuPay card in Sri Lanka. Tourists can,
exactly. But that will actually ease a lot of burden on the tourists, not to carry cash or even exchange it.
That's right.
And I think Sri Lanka, since tourism is the main driver of foreign exchange earning, I suppose, what is the, I'm taking you away from the vision document a little bit, because tourism is the key. And I think a lot of effort has gone into encouraging Indian tourists to start revisiting Sri Lanka or visit for the first time. So from the Sri Lankan side, what are the efforts that have been made for that?
Well, I think the PR and the marketing campaigns are going, but what we must also do is to make it affordable.
Exactly.
So we are looking at how the links can more airline links. We've been talking to airlines here, and how they can be made affordable. Because in the context of the recovery, as you rightly say, tourism is key, because that is the lowest hanging fruit in this context. And Sri Lanka has never really realized her full potential in tourism. Because if you look at, our economy is very simple. In the sense that we earn $7.5 billion a year at the peak. First, it dropped during COVID from remittances.
Right.
We earn about $5 billion exports of garments, of which maybe $2 billion we add value, $3 billion we import, some of it from India, from India. So now we are trying to see whether we could do more exports in India as well. Then tea, which everybody talks about, which employs a large number of people, a large extent of land, only earns us about $2 billion a year. And then IT services about $1 billion. So that is our spectrum.
Correct.
Tourism, the peak we had was in 2018. We had about $4 billion.
Yes.
We have never hit that.
No, again,
So now we need to get there. So if we can go like say $3-4 million in tourism, our recovery will become much easier. And then we have to push tourism. Hopefully
exactly.
To make it really happen.
No, and it is possible, because given the proximity, given the variety of tourist spots that Sri Lanka offers, and someone who's been so closely associated and visiting, I can testify that no other country apart from India for Indian tourists offers that kind of variety.
No, we can be like a more multifaceted Goa.
Exactly.
More to offer. And also it's quick. From Delhi, it's only 3 hours.
3 hours.
3.5 hours the most.
And then don't forget the religious tourism part of it. The Ramayana trail
and the Buddhist trail.
We have
actually 4 trails that we are looking at. One is the Ramayana trail, as you rightly say, Asanga Vatika in Sri Lanka, Sanjeevana Vatika in Sri Lanka. Linking these trails together.
That's right.
Then the Buddhist trail is already there in the form of pilgrims coming into India.
Correct.
Because everything should be two-way.
Two-way, exactly.
We should look at it.
That's right.
And now we want to increase that. Then we have 5 Shiva Shakti temples in Sri Lanka. Very, old, ancient temples. So we are talking about Shiva Shakti.
That's interesting.
We call it Murugan.
Right.
We have Katragama in the deep south is the Murugan.
Correct.
So these 4 are, from what you are suggesting, when it comes to religious tourism, for us, I think, key marketing.
Key marketing. Oh, that's good to know. But let me bring you back to the outcome document, or what was decided. So one of the other things that was decided was also about the people-to-people connectivity you've already spoken about, but IT sector and also Indian investments into Sri Lanka. So what are the sectors that Indian investors should look for when they want to invest in Sri Lanka?
On the IT side, what is important also to mention is we are now going to use the Aadhaar card model for the ID system in Sri Lanka, and maybe there could be an ecosystem around it also providing support for that.
Correct.
And the digital transformation, the Prime Minister personally said he would like to support that.
Right.
And along with it, the president is very keen on education, especially technology-driven education, and he's looking at new universities, new forms of collaboration.
Absolutely.
The president discussed also, the prime minister had this idea of this digital university he's creating, and he said that Sri Lanka would be part of.
Why don't you join?
There was in the bilateral discussions, actually, there was a lot to do with technology and education because both leaders are very interested in that and how that integration could take place. So that is another dimension.
Right.
But when it comes to the broader relationship on
Investments.
There was discussion on we are going through a privatization process.
Exactly.
How can Indian investors participate in the privatization?
Of the state-owned enterprises.
State-owned enterprises.
Right.
So we are basically, and also new possibilities for public-private partnerships with Indian companies.
Right.
Already Adani Group is
Already there.
Adani Group is this
West Container Terminal.
Terminal, and the progress there is very impressive. They are now building that.
Right.
Adani Group has also expressed interest in renewable energy and especially looking at this
The Manar part.
area where they're looking at starting with a 500 megawatt investment in wind, and they want to step forward further.
Yeah.
Then when it comes to sectors that you refer to, insurance is going to come up. Our state insurance corporation is coming up for sale. Then there are hotels that are coming up for sale.
Okay.
Our national airline is possibly
I mean, at least stake can be
so they could be public-private partnerships, or they could be eventual outright privatization.
Sure.
Then I think the aviation sector, there is the potential, because the government is also looking at participation of private sector in airports.
Right.
So that would be
some more airports to be built, or even expanded.
Different ways of looking at it.
Sure.
Because we don't have the capital to invest.
Right.
So any expansion in ports and airports will have to happen through foreign investment.
Sure.
So then mining fields, because we have, for example, phosphate potential, we have graphite potential, we have mineral sands potential.
Absolutely.
So that's another sector that can be looked at. So I think for Indian investors, both the privatizations plus some greenfield areas can be looked at.
Excellent. No, I think Indian businesses must start looking at Sri Lanka as an investment destination. And I think this is a start. I mean, the government's agreeing to it on both sides.
I think the vision document clearly puts out the direction.
That's right.
The fact that, and that was also discussed between the two leaders, that the drive should come from the private sector.
Right. Absolutely. That's the future.
That government will catalyze and have the policy framework. Both leaders firmly believe in that.
Right.
Prime Minister, as you know, does, and our President too.
That's true.
So I think the message is clear that it must make it easy for people to do business.
True. Inevitably, discussion on India-Sri Lanka is never complete. I know it has not been put out in the joint statement, but I'm sure it has been discussed, and you've been following it up also on the fishermen's issue. If you can tell us what is the current status and what could be the step forward?
I think what both sides have agreed is we need to work towards finding a solution.
Right.
I mean, this is we have long time problem.
Yes.
And as we have always presented it, there are three facets to this.
Sure.
I mean, the first one is legally, of course, it's very clear. We know where the boundaries are.
Right.
So there is no dispute there.
Yeah.
Where politically people may debate that.
But legally is known. Yeah. It's demarcated very well.
Very clearly.
Yeah.
Then comes the ecological issue.
Sure.
Because this using of bottom trawling methods have basically destroyed the fish beds on many, actually on the Indian side, too, have been destroyed quite a lot. At Sri Lankan side now, during the war, there was not much fishing going on. So therefore, the fish beds were there, but now there is more destruction.
That's right.
And we are very worried about it. So there again, we have to jointly try to control.
Sure.
Then comes the livelihoods issue.
Exactly.
The livelihoods issue is the challenge.
Yes.
How do we find a compromise?
Right.
So what was worked on is, agreed on, is to ensure that the two sides work closely together to find a solution that is win-win. Not easy to find.
Yeah.
That was the answer.
No, but I'm sure the work is in progress, and I think
there have been joint committees, joint working groups working on it. So at the practical level, it is happening.
Sure.
At the middle level, at the bureaucracy level, it is happening. and political level also.
Also discussions have taken place.
Leaders on both sides are
Right.
discussing.
Right. Our Indian Prime Minister also spoke about the Tamil issue to the President. So, what was the President's response
The
to his-
president has, I mean, since he took office, he has been trying to find an approach as to how he can build consensus.
Right.
I mean, ours is a polarized society.
Exactly.
And, I mean, if there was an easy solution,
It would have been found by now, yeah,
also
exactly.
whoever is there,
That's right.
it's a challenge for the
It is.
leader. He has been talking to the different Tamil parties. In fact, a few days before coming to India, he had a discussion.
Right.
He made certain proposals. There have been the reactions to that, positive and negative,
Yes.
depending on
Where you stand,
on the
exactly.
issue.
Yeah.
So the president briefed the prime minister on that.
Right.
The prime minister basically, that is in his public statement, he has also
Yes.
said that he is looking forward
Sure.
to some kind of a solution.
Solution there, yeah.
So it is a process.
Right.
It is a process, and in a democracy, it is complex.
Very
especially when you have such a multi-ethnic, multi-religious democracy.
And in a country which is so close, I mean, at least they live close to each other.
Exactly.
Even if there is distance in the thought process.
No, actually, when you I mean, basically, when you look at the Sri Lanka, throughout the country, for example, I mean, if you look at the city of Colombo, which
Sure.
where I, as a politician, I
Yes.
have represented Colombo. It is roughly equal communities.
Exactly.
Sinhala Muslims and Tamils are
Tamils, yeah.
roughly the same.
Absolutely.
People don't realize
Yes.
that. I mean, that people always look at the
North and the East, yeah, exactly.
and then when it comes to the connection with India, I find sometimes, especially Indians, don't understand one aspect. Now, if you look at the Tamil community, has very close cultural links to South India,
Right.
language,
Sure.
and
Absolutely.
literature.
Correct.
The Sinhalese connections come very much to the north.
North, exactly.
So if you look at our language, which we
Right.
speak is Sinhala,
Yeah.
is Pali Sanskrit.
Right.
And
Absolutely.
then, of course, majority of Sinhalese are Buddhist,
Yes.
and Buddhism came from here.
Correct.
And Tamils are Hindus. Hinduism
Came from here.
So
Exactly.
and then we have historically had relations. Some have been incursions, some have been more friendlier.
Right.
From Kalinga to the Pandyans to the Cholas,
Absolutely.
to the Pallavas, we have had these.
So variety of
So
connections.
I always say, going back to Ramayana, we have worked with India in one way or the other.
On
And Buddhism, of course, is considered, I mean, we consider it the greatest gift that India
Absolutely.
gave us.
Yes.
And, so therefore, I think we can work on these problems together.
Right.
And I think India understands that, and especially the Prime Minister does.
Yes.
But I think, I mean, the ethnic issue is something which has been
Festering and also.
festering, and
yeah.
we had a very violent
Exactly.
period of terrorism
Of
related
course.
to it.
Mhm.
And we have to find a way out.
No, of
The
course.
president is keen, is focused.
And he's an old, experienced hand in all this. I mean, he's done this
he has a
as
lot
you
of
have.
experience.
So,
No, there is a lot of experience. I
Right.
think the problem, the challenge is in democracy is especially getting everybody around the table and getting them to agree.
some kind of a minimum program somewhere.
It's not easy.
That's right.
So the president has made certain proposals,
Right.
which I think is a good starting
Right.
point. Then others may not.
Exactly.
So, I mean, that's
No, I think overall, though, let's look at one final thought from you. Overall, I think the visit is the start point of a new phase in India-Sri Lanka relationship.
Definitely. I think it is, I mean, the vision statement very clearly talks of, I mean, you said connectivity, integration.
Yes.
I think that is the key for our economic recovery.
Right.
And that is on one side. On
Yes.
the other side, any other concerns India may have,
Sure.
even in the geopolitical context.
Right.
I think integration is the way to go.
Sure.
Because I think, this is the first step. I think the vision statement puts out basic contours.
Correct.
Of course, we have to walk the talk now. We have to get the
Absolutely.
job done.
Yeah.
And the agreements or the MOUs that were signed put the frameworks, because
Sure.
for the renewable energy, the MOU puts a framework for that.
Absolutely.
And then on the Trincomalee Corporation puts a framework for that relationship, so that things can start to happen around that. Then the UPI agreement, we will
Exactly.
hopefully be able to get the
into this.
RuPay type
Yes.
of instruments and
Yeah.
apps working.
Absolutely.
And then there was interestingly another MOU. It was more a document of intent really signed which was for dairy cooperation.
Yeah, I missed that, yes.
Because our president is very interested in dairy and interested. I visited Amul also to look at Amul. It was very,
Yes.
very impressive.
Absolutely.
Cooperative, and it's really, I think,
True. One of the pioneers in the field.
Yes, and I think internationally,
True.
it's something people should look at. So the president is very keen to get Amul and other, your dairy expertise to Sri Lanka.
Sure.
Because I find an interesting part that I noticed there in the visit is you drink a lot of buffalo milk.
Oh, yes.
Now Sri Lanka has a lot of buffalo, but
Yes.
we don't drink buffalo milk.
Yeah, you're more dependent on powder milk, I suppose.
And also
And cow milk.
Cow milk.
Yeah.
And we also we eat as curd
Right.
buffalo milk, but
Yes.
it's not consumed in the quantity you do.
Right.
So I noticed half your consumption
Comes from
buffalo milk. So these are interesting experiences.
Exactly. When you get to the ground there.
Exactly.
Really.
So I think so we have in this visit different levels of cooperation. From
Absolutely.
high technology going.
No,
down
I can
to
see that.
dairy.
I can see that, but what is not put in there, and I think I said last thought, but what you mentioned geopolitics. I'm sure China was discussed, but it's not out in the open. I'm sure the
Our
dialogue is there.
leaders, whenever they meet, the geopolitical
Situation is
situation is discussed, and that's how it should be. And
Right.
it's a candid discussion.
Yes.
Both sides, explain they discuss and understand. That's what we have to do.
Right.
And we have to have more discussions. like that.
Absolutely. Mhm.
Because basically at the end of the day, I always say India's security is our security because our location is very clear. We spoke of the civilization and
Yes. But also geographical links.
geographically we can't be sort of
Separated.
off somewhere else.
No.
And what we are talking is of integration.
Sure.
Now, if we are talking of integration, if we are talking of connectivity, we cannot be in any way be a security threat.
Sure.
Yeah. So on the matter of the idea on security, we have to have that dialogue, and that's what is happening. I think at all levels. It's not only at leaders level.
Yes, certainly. At different levels, yes, certainly. No, I think these last 2 years have been tough on Sri Lanka, but I'm happy India has been able to contribute to its stabilization, as you mentioned. And I'm sure from here it's only going to go upwards,
Thank you.
the relationship.
And thank you for all what you have done for the bilateral relationship. Also. You have always
I'm an
been
old
friend of Sri Lanka.
observer and a friend, yes, certainly. We would like to, in fact, it's always a pleasure to go to Sri Lanka, and we will go there. But thank you very much for your time and your insight.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Thank you.
So, viewers, there you are. You got the first-hand information from Sri Lanka's High Commissioner to India, Milinda Moragoda, who has contributed immensely to the upsurge in the India-Sri Lanka relationship over the past couple of years, despite the hardships that Sri Lanka has gone through. And he will be remembered for this contribution in the relationship between the two countries. So do keep watching StratNewsGlobal and send us your feedback and comments. You know where to reach us. Our social media handles are visible on the screen. So do follow them, and of course keep subscribing. If you're already a subscriber, keep spreading the word to subscribe to our YouTube channel. This is what gets us more and more feedback from our viewers and our supporters. Thank you very much for watching. Goodbye.